Welcome to the Animal Training Fundamentals Podcast, where we have fun with practical application and we get mental with the science of behavior. Put them both together and you get results, solutions for your behavior problems, and the tools you need to achieve your training goals. I'm your host, Barbara Heidenreich. Let's talk training. Hey, animal lovers, it's Barbara Heidenreich here, and I have Annette Pedersen from the Copenhagen Zoo. She's the animal training coordinator there, and she is also the chair of the Animal Training Working Group for the European Association of Zoos and Aquariums. Welcome, Annette.
Thank you, Barbara.
I'm so excited to have Annette here because one of the things that I love about Copenhagen Zoo is I kind of look at them as the zoo that has all these what I call famous firsts.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's true. You do all these cool behaviors that typically I see first at your zoo. I see them first at Copenhagen Zoo, and then they get put out online, and then the next thing you know, everybody is doing what Copenhagen did. And one of my favorites, which totally went frickin' viral everywhere, is the tiger training that's going on at Copenhagen. I mean, that tiger video was just everywhere. And since then, I've seen so many things that you guys have done with your tigers. That's just absolutely fascinating. And I thought maybe you could share with us things about the tiger training program and some of the behaviors you did and how it got started and all that fun stuff. What do you say? You up for it?
Yeah, of course.
I'm going to start a little bit with when I first came to Copenhagen I don't even remember the year. It was quite a few years ago now. Sabrina Brando, some of you may know Sabrina. She's now working with Mwaza. She organized a seminar mainly focused on birds, and through her company, Animal Concepts, and it was hosted by Copenhagen Zoo. And at that time, we got to take a little tour around the zoo and see some of the animal training, and we got to see the tiger training. And one of the cool things you guys were showing us was tigers putting their paws into it like a sleeve kind of thing and working on injection training. So that was kind of the first thing I saw. So maybe you can start with that. How did that all happen?
Yeah, how did that happen? Simply because we didn't know any better. So, an even longer time ago, we had two big tiger cubs or young male tigers that were going to another zoo. We were doing more and more training in the zoo. And we had a meeting with the carnivore section, and we knew these two guys were going to another Danish zoo. We had, like anybody else, history of targeted tigers getting dotted, and the stress and the aggression and the dangers that are connected to that. So we looked at each other and says, can we do something here? Can we try to see if we can inject these tigers voluntarily instead of using training instead of dotting? Because they were really nice, mild trained tigers we had there. So we made a plan, and we didn't have much time. We had about 2 weeks. There had to be two trainers. They were not at work at the same days. So in total, I think we had about 8 days or something, 7 or 8 days. So it was like ridiculous to even start, wasn't it? But we said, okay. I said, well, we have to try. I mean, let's see how far we get, and can we do 30%? Maybe we can just calm them down a little or make some good relationships before we dot. So anyway, we started. We didn't know much about how to work on a tiger. What was the easiest way to get some body part of the tiger close enough to us to inject it? We had these holes in the fence where we put in the water trough. We could take that out, and then we had this small hole, and it fit the tiger paw. I know it's dangerous stuff, we know that, and that's why we had the sleeve on. But what we did was we presented a big buoy, a round orange ball, and we kind of teased the tiger a little, and it took its paw out to grab the target, and that's how we trained it to put its paw on the target. And the tiger was pretty relaxed, so it just put its paw there, and we could start touching the leg. Actually, it was two tigers, and we did it with both, and in 7 days we were ready to inject the tigers. That was crazy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We didn't expect that, and it actually went really well. The keepers injected the tigers with the anesthetic, and the tigers never realized it. They fell asleep with the paw still out through the hole. Like, what happened? Why are you leaving now? And then they dropped to sleep. So we said, we have to do more of this. But we could see also the dangers in working with the tigers like this. So that's why we built a sleeve, because, okay, we can get this behavior pretty fast. So let's build a sleeve and train through that so we don't have to put the fingers too close to the claws. And that's how the sleeve came around. We don't have any corners in our stable, so it felt difficult to train for the hip injection. We didn't have a corner, which is pretty useful when you want to work with lean in.
Yeah, and for some people who may not have trained this behavior before, the corner thing, what works well there is you can target the head of the cat towards the corner, and that lines up the whole side of the cat right up against the mesh, and then you have access to a hip for an injection. But what you're saying there is you didn't have that, so having them put a paw out into a sleeve gave you access to the forearm so you could inject into the muscle there.
Yeah, and again, you have to remember we had to go for the fastest solution because we had such a short time to do it in.
And as it turns out, that particular approach using the sleeve has been helpful to me and some of my consulting clients, because I have some clients that for various reasons their cats don't have tails, like they lost them in an injury or something like that. And so if they wanted to do blood draws, and most places do blood draws from the dorsal vein on the tail, they haven't been able to use that as an option. So teaching a cat to present a paw has given them the option to draw from the front leg there. So that seeing those videos has been helpful to those people.
Great.
So so that behavior was definitely kind of a breakthrough in my opinion when I first saw that, and definitely for other people. And I get that other people have been training big cats and things like that, but there was something about that one that really, I think, inspired a lot of people. And then you guys went on to do blood draws from the tail, correct?
Yes. You were there helping us in the beginning, I remember.
Did I? I don't remember that. I remember watching it, but I don't remember.
I have it on video, yeah. So.
Okay.
But yeah, you helped us pick out the tail because we were too careful about, the tiger's emotions on it. So we wanted him to be absolutely relaxed. So we were not, we should just, be more, just take the tail and feed him. And then it came out was much easier. We spent too much time on being careful.
Maybe feeding at the same time. Was it that thing? Was I talking about feeding at the same time so that he'll won't have a fear response to touching and then gradually transitioning to feeding afterwards. So so those of you that follow my stuff, I talk about that as a strategy to quickly move on to the next step. So a lot of times people who are accustomed to shaping and using operant conditioning to get behaviors, we've been taught to, with our approximations, that you do the action first or have the animal do the behavior first and then you reinforce afterwards, which is certainly a fine strategy. But sometimes when we're trying to get an animal to overcome a fear response or prevent a fear response, a great way to move past that really quickly is to just go ahead and pair food with that procedure in the beginning, and then so like, for example, touch. So I'm going to pair food the exact moment I'm touching. And a lot of times I'm feeding first as I'm introducing touch slowly, and then gradually adding more intensity of pressure with the touch. And then I'm going to transition to touching first and delaying the delivery of the reinforcer slightly afterwards, and then making that delay longer and longer. But just spending, literally, sometimes it takes you all of 5 minutes to do that. Doing that, you can get past that step a lot faster, and you don't have to spend session after session after session getting the animal used to touch. So that's probably what we talked about, I'm guessing.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Cool. I've learned a lot from that.
Oh, good. Yeah, I find it really helpful. And I think for me, because with consulting, a lot of places I work with, I'm only there for a few days at a time, and we gotta move. We gotta get things happening fast, and that technique really helps make things happen fast. So
it does.
Now, another thing that I love that I watched when I was there one time was you guys getting a big cat to urinate on cue.
Yeah, that was fun.
You got to share.
Yeah, we were wondering, how do you get, this was a male cat. When do male cats pee? They do it or spray or whatever when they smell something. So we kind of tried to set up an environment to make him do that. So we talked about, how about putting a big pile of straw and then add some perfume, because carnival people uses perfume, different kinds of perfume as enrichment. We tried different stuff, and he was very interested, and we found out it was pretty easy actually to get him to pee in the pile of straw when there was perfume there. And we actually found out that Gucci was the best one. Not saying anything about Gucci, but
except it's expensive, right?
yeah, and he has an expensive taste, I guess. So, but then we could make the pile of straw smaller and smaller, and it became a cue for him. So as soon as he saw it, he was on pee mode, and he started sniffing and spraying. And then we found out that if we did it in the morning, we were most likely to get him to sit down and actually pee instead of just spraying all around the room. And then we had these small holes in the fence from the water troughs that we could put in there. We took them out, and we could put in a little ball on a stick and put it underneath the tiger while he peed, and we could get a big bowl of pee, which reminds me, do you know what it smells like?
I know the spraying usually smells like popcorn. Is the urine the same?
Yes.
Okay, good.
I just think it's so funny because most people don't believe it, but it's actually true.
I still don't want to be sprayed, thank you. No, I think an important thing to mention as well is, though, even though the perfume and the straw and all the things that you set up can trigger the action that you want, you still reinforce the behavior.
Yes, we do. Absolutely. We try to see if we could get, the peeing on an SD or stimulus control. Of course, till a certain extent you can, but yeah, I think actually that the straws, just a handful of straw on the floor was actually enough to get him on that mode and just spraying a little with perfume. So it became his cue.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, he was pretty good at it. I mean, was almost 90% of the times that we could get him to pee if we did it in the morning, the setup.
I saw that one visit quite a few years ago when I was there, and I have some video of that. And then I saw other people started copying that as well. Like I said, you guys for me are the famous first on those things. And then I see the rest of the world do it. But, fine. We want people to copy and learn, right? Mm-hmm. That's
absolutely. Yeah, that's the best.
Imitation is the best flattery. So I would say that it's a very high compliment that people have learned from the things that you guys are doing there at Copenhagen, especially when those videos go viral. So one of the questions that does come up a lot, especially with big cat training, is we're seeing a lot of facilities transition from hand feeding to using utensils. For me, I work with places that do one way or the other. There's a combination. I kind of take the position that whatever the facility is comfortable doing, that's what we do, because I work in many different countries, and you're not going to convince a facility that's been doing it for years and years and years one way to suddenly switch to doing it a different way. So do you guys have a particular position on how you feel about using utensils versus hand, or what's your feeling on it?
Yeah, that's funny you should ask, because we just changed our procedures or our protocols on that. So now the management want us to use utensils to feed the tiger. Before that, for many years, we've used hands. But of course, there is a danger connected to it. I mean, you don't have to just think about the teeth. There's also the claws, and they're like fish hooks. So, if they catch you, you're there, you cannot get off. And it can be dangerous, of course. I do understand, but at the same time, when you can say that for a lot of animals. When you work with the animals, you kind of feel safe. But, if that's enough, they have to take the responsibility. And I think that's why they have decided that now it's time to change from hand feeding to we use chopsticks.
I think one of the toughest things about utensils is there's that little extra gap in time that it takes to deliver the reinforcer. And so a lot of times what I'm trying to figure out is a way to make that happen quickly. So looking for the right tools or picking the right kind of food item that I can deliver it quickly. Like with big cats, sometimes blood out of a chemical wash bottle can be a way to still give me that opportunity to deliver quickly if it's something that's reinforcing to that animal, or goat's milk or something like that. But yeah, it can be a challenge, huh? But at the same time, trying to be safe and get the result you want. For anyone who hasn't worked with tigers, what do you think is something they should know about them? What are some of the common challenges or maybe interesting things about tigers that people may not know?
I don't know if people don't know, but one of the mistakes sometimes I see with tigers is that we want them to be calm. And some of them are calm from nature, from individual. But sometimes they show a little fear, a little aggression, or sometimes they're just shy and fearful. You just talked about, the feeding stuff, and how you switch to operant conditioning, like asking the behavior and then reinforce afterwards. I think one of the mistakes, if you have a brand new tiger and you approach that tiger and it's a little aggressive and they're vocalizing,
Yeah.
and it looks aggressive, people think that if they feed them when they look like that, they are reinforcing aggression. And I think that's the biggest mistake, because if you take a tiger that shows these signs of insecurity or aggression or fear, the best way to solve that, in my opinion, is to just feed, 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 feed. And you will see how their emotional state change. And when their emotional state change and they actually start to like being with you, all the aggression behavior disappears. So you are not reinforcing aggression.
Yeah, I would agree. Like if they're willing to take something from you, if they're willing to take a food item from you, I think the way that somebody once put it to me is that you really can't reinforce an emotional state. You're reinforcing a behavior. You're not hurting something. If the animal's willing to take what you have to offer, you can just do that kind of rapid fire. And I prefer to use small reinforcers in that kind of situation because it gives you many opportunities to reinforce. If you just give something big and then they go away with it, then you're not having repetition of reinforcing, hey, every time I come over, something good happens. Every time I'm here, you get more and more good stuff. And it encourages them to want to hang out and get those good things from you.
Yeah, and some can also be so eager to get it because, food, 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 food. And then just let them know there's plenty of food. Just feed, 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 feed. At some point, they will relax and, okay, I'm full. And they realize that, there will always be more food. Right. And another thing, when tigers are like that, feed them before you train. I mean, we had tigers that we fed 4 kilos of meat before training session because otherwise they would be unapproachable. I mean, so they were working much better with a full stomach. I mean, because they were not eating for hunger, they were eating for the reinforcement.
Yeah, if they're too anxious, it's like they can't focus on the behavior. They're just so like, how do I get food? I can't think about what you want me to do to get food. Just give me food.
Yeah. So another one too, you cannot starve animals to do anything because it's not working. You cannot work and being hungry. No. But I noticed what you said about the emotional state. You cannot reinforce emotions, no, but you can change the feeling around things.
Yes.
And that's how I thought of it as like, if I come up and I get something nice that I want, I may stop being so aggressive and find, it's okay. I want to be here. And all the roaring and vocalizing will disappear. And you will see, I have a video of it where you see, in the beginning, you see a tiger with no ears. That is the clearest sign. She's very low and the ears are invisible. They were clean, glued to the head. And as our tiger trainer Sako is feeding her and feeding her and feeding her, you see how the ears come up like this, and her whole facial expression just changed within 1.5 minutes. A lot of behavior is connected to the emotional state. You have to stop thinking in operant conditioning all the time. I think sometimes you have to think about the inner state and the more classical conditioning and the fear response, especially with these big cats.
I think two things I was thinking about when you were talking there about, the fast moving cats too, and giving them food before you have a training session. One of the common things that I see happen with big cat training too is that because we have these animals that are eager for food and people get into a habit of asking for a behavior and then another behavior and then another behavior and another behavior very rapidly. We get these cats that are moving super fast throughout the training session. And so they never slow down. They think that that's how that's how I get food in a training session, is I need to move really rapidly. And next thing you know, the trainer is trying to keep up.
Exactly.
Yeah. Faster and faster and faster and faster, instead of trying to teach the animal to slow down and relax, and it's okay to wait. So part of that is making sure your animal's not so anxious about food, but also slowing down how quickly you're asking behaviors. And that also ties in with another concept that I've only seen a little bit about, and I keep trying to find more information about it, but this idea of behavioral bliss. I don't know if you've heard about this. Yeah, that you know that all your reinforcers are available to you. And this ties in with that notion of keeping animals too hungry. So like for us, we generally know we can go to the refrigerator and get food when we're hungry. We can go to the supermarket. But if you're in a situation where those things aren't available to you. You never know when you're going to get them. You're not sure you're going to get those things. You can have a lot of anxiety about those things. You can get into a situation where you're very eager and anxious about those types of things that aren't available to you. But if you have behavioral bliss, you know that those things are always available to you, and that they're going to be forthcoming. And so you don't have anxiety about them. A way you can think about it is, let's say you're on a diet and you've told yourself, I can't have chocolate ever. And suddenly all the time you want chocolate. But when you tell yourself, oh, I can eat chocolate whenever I want, and you're not so obsessed with chocolate, and because it's like, I can have chocolate when I want. It's not a big deal. So,
sounds familiar.
yeah, we can all relate. So if your cat knows it's going to get food because you readily give it to it, and it's not going, when am I going to get fed?
Another problem when you have training that is going faster and faster and faster, that you overlook precursors of frustration building up. So you end up maybe in an even worse situation. You could have prevented if you had a training that was slowed down. That's pretty normal with sea lions. I mean, if you get your sea lions to relax, you will see precursors much sooner, or, signs of frustration, like, just small things.
Yeah.
If they don't want to go to the water for a ring or something like that, you will see that they kind of go like, I don't really want to do that. You pick that up pretty early, and you can change your strategy and make sure that you have a more happy animal. So you can much better read body language if you slow them down a bit.
Absolutely makes sense. I love it. All right. I think we're getting overwhelmed with too many good tidbits here. Started with tiger training. How about a shout out to your tiger trainers? Who are your tiger trainers at Copenhagen Zoo?
The one that taught the most behaviors is Sako Sonne Futrup. He's a wonderful tiger. He's worked with tigers for more than 20 years, I think. And then we have Maya Oliver. It's Danish names. She's also worked with the tigers. We have Eline Larsen. We have Mette Krøll. They are the ones that have been in the section for the longest time. Yeah.
Great. Well, lots of good information about tiger training there. I think a lot of people will appreciate this. So how about some upcoming events? Any good things that you're going to be doing where people can catch you and learn more about animal training?
Oh, yes. I want to announce the IASA pre-conference workshop, which is on the 17th of September. And it's planned so people that attend that can easily get in time to the IASA conference. It's a half-day workshop with Barbara Heidenreich, me, myself, and Kirsten Andersen Hansen from Denmark too, who's doing research with seals and seabirds on hearing. We have the IASA Academy course in October, taught by Kirsten and I, and hopefully Jim Mackey. We don't know for sure yet. And then in the spring, we have the IASA Welfare Forum in the end of March. And just after that, we have Animal Behavior Management Alliance annual conference in Europe. And they have just been there once in 2015 in Denmark. And now they're going to be also in Holland. So you can actually be 1 week in Holland and attend 2 conferences on animal behavior. Is that cool?
Well, we'll look forward to those events, and hopefully many people will have a chance to attend and learn lots and lots about animal training. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here, Annette, and we'll look forward to chatting with you again.
Thank you for having me.
Well, that was some great information from Annette about training tigers. And here's 3 new things for your training toolbox to try this week if you work with tigers or other big cats, or maybe some of these will apply to some of the other animals that you work with as well. So number 1, does your animal seem too eager for food? A lot of times that's a state that's not too conducive for learning. You might want to try feeding the diet prior to the session and then just using preferred food items during the training session. This can let your animal focus on what actions he needs to do to earn reinforcers instead of just how do I get food? Number 2, if you're working with big cats or even small cats, try using scent placed in straw or other bedding as a way to trigger scent marking. This creates the action you want so that you can capture the behavior. Try it at a time of day when the cat might be ready to urinate, such as first thing in the morning. All right, tip number 3. Who's dictating the pace of the training session? Remember, training animals to hold and sit calmly are behaviors too. Asking for behaviors rapid fire can teach big cats and other animals that they're supposed to be throwing out behaviors as fast as they can. If your animal hasn't learned to wait, it may get frustrated if reinforcers or cues for behaviors aren't coming fast enough. And it doesn't really give you time to read body language. Practice slowing down the pace by adding a little duration to behaviors and using tip number 1 if you need to. There you go. I hope you enjoyed these training tips. You want more? For just $1, you get 10 days of full access to animaltrainingfundamentals.com. Pick a membership, enter the code TRY10days, and check it out. Thanks for talking training with me. If you liked what you heard today, visit animaltrainingfundamentals.com for more quality content on animal training. You'll find courses, community, and extensive video examples from my consulting work around the world. We'd love to have you join our force-free family.